Okay guys, I stripped down the CB400T just for Christmas. If there's enough people want to see a video of it, I'll make one. But basically it's just stripping down the CB400T. Yeah, that don't work. But anyway, I'm now rebuilding it. Yeah, so thought I'd video it just for anyone that's interested. Damn, my hair looks like shit. But anyway, so yeah, it's slowly going back together. Yeah, watch the video if you want to. It's up to you. Right guys, so we have our frame. Basically what I did was wash it and check for any major damage to the paintwork. Let's turn it over so it's upside down. I did use a bit of rust converter. There are certain points to watch out for on these frames. This ridge here, the same as on the top of the frame, can suffer with damage quite easily. You will get knocks around any parts of the frame that stick out, and usually when you put the engine in on the front bar where the engine mounts, so just on that bar, usually on the inside, you can get them on the outside too. This frame's not too bad, nice and black, so time to do the next bit I guess, fitting a few little bits onto it. So let's turn it round so you can see a bit better. So got a spanner in the way there. Right. Just adjust that camera. Right. The way the camera shows this is a bit of a pain. So, alright, that's where we're going to be working today, in this bit. Right, when fitting your stand, it's quite simple. They are an easy design, so you've got to remember that there is a mounting here for a bolt to go through, a pinch bolt, or a pinch mounting. So that's the side that that edge goes on. So, and the bolt hole, which is later used for the foot brake. So you slide that through, make sure it fits. Once you know that, yeah, it does fit right. Which this one, doesn't quite like it, but it's near enough. And you take it out again. Sometimes you have to adjust that pinch bolt mounting. Then you go and look for some grease. Which somewhere I have some grease there. Doing these bikes is never a clean job. So, then you have to get some grease. Just grease it up. Don't need too much, just enough to lubricate it, because you're going to have the stand going through it, so. Right, let's just wipe my hands. Can't stand having dirty hands. Yeah, a mechanic that don't like having dirty hands. Work that out. Right, then the stand goes through there. And then you put that in. Get it lined up. Leave that sit there for a minute. Rubber mallet. just like that, and that's in. Right, a few of you might notice I didn't put this pinch bolt in. There's a reason for that. There's a bracket that goes on it, silvery coloured one. Now, I run out of paint, so I can't do the side stand. So, this bracket, you put the bolt through, put a bit of grease on the thread. You're using a lot of grease doing this. You put it on like that, and do up the nut, and the bracket sits upside down basically at this point. And that is for all your breather cables to go through. So all your breather pipes and things go through there. Now I've got to make sure I've got it on the right way, because normally I put these on back to front, which we'll find out later on. So when your stand's like that, it's got to have a spring on it and the bracket and various other stuff. But when that's on there, got to make sure it, because it sits like that, got to make sure it doesn't get in the way of this bracket. So what I'll do is we'll tighten that up, find a 10mm and do that. And I'm standing black paint. Oh well, that's life. 10mm spanner, just tighten up that pinch bolt. Doesn't need to be particularly tight, just tight enough that it does the job and stops that pin coming out. Right, that's on there. That's the next bit, so it doesn't interfere. So when your stand goes up, it sits like that. So that's good. So we'll get the next bit done. Right, let's find the spring for that stand. Right. There's a spring for the centre stand. It doesn't look great, but it'll do the job for now until I can afford a new one. You can buy them from Super Dream Parts on eBay. They're the same as Super Dream spring. There's the bracket. So, as I said, I painted silver. It's probably not dry yet, but we shall still try and fit it without getting too covered in paint. Right. So the spring goes on. That end, these are usually a real pain to do. Goes on there, like so. Hangs down. Then somehow you've got to get that spring onto there. Now if you can get low enough, it isn't too bad. But it's getting in just the right spot. What I normally do is hook it onto the bracket, like that, and then use a screwdriver. If I can find out what to do with my screwdriver. Usual thing, shed full of stuff. I can't find a screwdriver. Or anything basically. Just to pull the spring and get on there. Springs on these are quite tight, by the way. And hooking ain't gonna do it, is it? Okay. Try to turn the spring round, I can't remember. It's been so long since I did this bit. Like that. See? Spring has a long end and a short end. I use the long end. So when that goes up, then that sits like that, which then does the job. So That's that mechanism in. As you can see, it's on there. Oh. So that holds that onto a bracket here. See, so holds it onto that lug there, and goes down to C bracket, goes down to a piece underneath, under here. So, piece looks like a worm, fits on there, quite simple. Right, next stage, swing arm. So, you have your swing arm, you have your mounts, right? That's what you do. Put some grease on the bolt. Yes, more grease. Doesn't need a huge amount. Just enough to coat part of it. Which will do the job. Just wipe my hands again. Right, when you've got some grease on the bolt, doesn't have to be even because it will go through there. Right. Now, this is the tricky bit. I'll get the swing arm into the right place, which isn't always easy. Without knocking the dust caps off. Bolt down for a minute. Right. You can do this the other way round, which does help, but I'm doing it cack-handed. Bolt goes through the footrest hanger. Part the way through there. And it goes through the swing arm. Don't worry about if it lines up just yet. You can do that in a minute. Once the bolt starts to go through, like so. Do that one. Another one. Right. That will just hold that footrest hanger in place for a minute. Right. And you slide your nicely greased up bolt all the way through, wiping off any excess grease with a rag. A big rag, but it's a rag. Any excess grease off this side, so you don't end up grease everywhere. And that bolt should just slide straight through, like so. Then you put the other side on and do these two bolts. Okay, that's what they're for. Come on, that's it. That one goes on there, like so. That bolt can go back in there for a minute. So it doesn't go in there, does it? Nope, wrong bolt. That bolt goes in there. Just take them out, I should know. Right, that bolt goes in there. Then that bolt goes in that hole. Then there is a washer and the nut. And you put the washer and the nut on the side that doesn't have the brake. Now there are grease nipples. We will be using a grease gun on those in a bit. So you just do that up loose. Right, so none of those 12mm bolts need to be tight for now because for various reasons you've got to loosen them off later. like fitting the what do you call it, brake lever. There's various other parts you'll fit as well, so the bolt that goes in here, where is it? Right. Tiny dab of grease on it. Right. Brake pedal adjuster bolt. There's a small bracket in here it fits into. I like to put a bit of grease on it because it's hidden from everything when it's actually in there. And it's very hard to get to afterwards, which is a bit daft, but it's a 1978 design. It's like they're not exactly most friendly to get into. Right, that can sit there for a minute. That is going to need to be adjusted later. Now, the next job is the rear shocks. Now, rear shocks, you sort of look at and go, we haven't got an airbox on it yet. Well, temporarily for a minute we're going to put the rear shocks on. Again, they don't need to be tight. It's one of the things. It's just stop the swing arm moving when we do various stuff on the bike. So again, rear shocks are quite a simple fit on these. They do cost next to nothing, so they are worth replacing when you can. I will be replacing these with Tech Shocks. No, I'm not sponsored by them, wish I was. Then all my bikes go have nice shiny new shocks on. But, so, there's one, just going in there, loosely. Then we have the other one. Just gonna put that in there loosely. Doesn't have to be done up tight. At this stage nothing gets done up tight. So yeah, now that one's going in. Let's just stop the swing arm wobbling around. Of course you don't want to bend the swing arm, so put two shocks on it. Try and keep it nice and straight. They will be taken off later anyway. And one and two. Just stops that moving around. Okay guys, time to get the engine in. Move the front engine in. Undo the bolts. Might need those. Just undo the front engine mount, undo the bolts. Put those down there. Tilt that camera up a little so you can see a bit more of what I'm doing. Right, undo these two. And need them. this easy way. Hopefully. He says. You always say do things the easy way. Never work out the easy way, do they? Try to move this frame. There's a bit of a pain in this this small space. Easiest way I've found getting an engine on one of these. Get your fingers off. It's quite literally just lift the frame onto the engine. Move those wires out of the way. Where's that not going on? Not lined up. No. Not lined up. Thing is, I haven't got the engine perfectly level, which doesn't exactly help. Like that. There we go. Put one of them in, the shorter one. Spotting the hole is now another thing. Wire. Once you get one of these bolts in, it's generally not too bad. If it comes down to it for a minute, we can always shove this one in backwards just to hold it where it needs to be. Come on, line up about there. No, can't get that one to line up. Not yet. Right. So, just going to bolt, which for a minute can go through there, and then line that up, shove a bolt through from this side, like so. Actually, swap that one around so it's in the correct side, like so. Then that hasn't got a lot of choice as to where it's moving. Right. And that bolt temporarily goes in there. You can see the old muck. That bolt and goes through the bottom of the frame. In there, like so. And then you lift that up and you get the stand on. Once you've got the stand on it, it's not too bad. Bit knackering lifting that around, but now that engine is set in there, so milk crate's not healthy, the engine's in. There you go, a few minutes. Engine is set in there. And there's loads of things that we need to do to get in properly, but at least it's in. So we'll sort that out. I've actually put the front engine mounting bolts around the wrong way. And yet the ones here are in the right place, so because the threads stick out. Don't know if you can see that. That's where the earth goes for the bike. And that means that basically you got the thread there, so you can just put the nut on. There's also a bracket that goes on there and various other stuff. I've still got to put copper grease on that bolt, so I'll have to take that one out again. But it was just to get the engine in, so that I can move bolts, turn them around, etc. If you've got 2 bolts holding it in at the front, 1 at the rear, you can then swap them, change them, do whatever you need to. It's one of them things. The bottom bolt isn't completely in yet, so I have to fiddle around and just get that in. That's not too major. But yeah, so the engine's basically in the bike. Let's see if I can get that bottom bolt to go in properly. Like that. That one's in the right place. This is one that I need to put copper grease on. Top engine mounting bolt, need at the rear, the one that goes through here. You do need to put copper grease on it, otherwise your electrics will cut out at some point. Steel bolt, steel frame, aluminium engine, so you do get a lot of corrosion. So I will find the copper grease, grease this bolt up. Right, copper grease, screwdriver. Where the hell did I put that this time? I know it's around. There. Oops, air escaping. Alright. Triple QX copper grease. I put some of this on that top bolt. It's horrible stuff to deal with. Or I don't like dealing with it, but saying that I don't like dealing with any grease. Right, so just need to put some on. Quite simple, anyone can do this. Also stops your threads from sticking. But yeah, but remember copper's a good conductor, so mix it with grease and yes, it will work. Put that back in from this side, which is the generator side. Slide it through, and that copper should now insulate that bolt from corrosion, or isolate it rather from corrosion. Now, next 2 bits. There's one of them. And where's the other one? I think it's over here somewhere. I remember seeing it. Whether I can find it or not is another thing. That's the thing, when you pile everything on your bench, then you go and look for all these parts. There it is. Right. This bracket has got a weird shaped back on it. Basically that goes on just here. goes on there like so, and it sits under, where is it? Sits under there, under the mount, like that. You've also got your engine earth that goes on there, and a nut. So, is that the right nut? Let's have a look. Yes. And that, basically, is your complete engine earth. That will keep your electrics going. Otherwise they will cut out on you. They can be a complete pain in the arse to sort out. Right, that's the engine earth. Loosely on there.